Elena Ramirez lived a life of quiet routines, the kind that, to an outside observer, might seem almost invisible in its simplicity. Each morning she woke before the sun, the world outside her window still wrapped in the gentle hush of dawn. She moved quietly through her home, careful not to disturb the peaceful slumber of her family. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the kitchen as she prepared breakfast, her movements practiced and unhurried. Elena cherished these early hours, the soft light filtering through the curtains, the gentle hum of the refrigerator, the comforting predictability of her daily rituals. It was in these moments, before the rush of the day began, that she found a sense of calm and purpose. Her home was nestled in a quiet suburb just outside the bustling heart of Washington, D.C. The neighborhood was a patchwork of tree-lined streets, American flags fluttering gently in the breeze, and houses with neatly trimmed lawns. It was the kind of place where neighbors waved from their driveways, children played hopscotch on the sidewalks, and the mail carrier knew everyone by name. The city itself, with its monuments and marble buildings, felt both close and distant, a reminder of the world's complexities, but also a backdrop to the ordinary joys and challenges of suburban life. Elena often found herself grateful for the sense of community that surrounded her, the feeling of safety and belonging that came from living in a place where people looked out for one another. By day, Elena was a devoted mother to her two energetic sons, Mateo and Lucas, ages 8 and 10. Mornings were a flurry of activity, packing lunches, finding missing homework, and making sure everyone had their shoes on the right feet. She took pride in the small victories, a healthy breakfast eaten without complaint, a forgotten permission slip miraculously found at the last minute, a gentle word of encouragement before the boys headed out the door. Breakfast was a cherished ritual, a time for the family to gather around the table, share stories, and prepare for the day ahead. Elena listened as her sons recounted their dreams from the night before, their voices animated and full of wonder. She tied their shoelaces with practiced hands, smoothing their hair and offering a reassuring smile. These moments, though fleeting, were the foundation of her days, the reason she worked so hard to create a stable, loving home. Elena was also a loving wife to her husband Marco, a high school history teacher with a passion for storytelling and a knack for making the past come alive. Their mornings together were brief but meaningful. A shared cup of coffee, a quick embrace at the front door, a whispered promise to call at lunchtime. Marco's steady presence was a source of comfort for Elena, a reminder that she was not alone in the challenges of parenthood and daily life. They laughed together in the kitchen, exchanged knowing glances over the heads of their children, and supported each other through the ups and downs of marriage. Marco's dedication to his students and his family inspired Elena, and she often found herself reflecting on the ways their lives had intertwined, creating a partnership built on trust, respect, and love. To her family, Elena was the picture of stability, a caring mother, a supportive wife, and a diligent professional. She worked from a small home office, her days filled with the quiet click of keys and the soft murmur of phone calls. Officially, she was a translator for a small international consulting firm, a job that allowed her to balance her professional ambitions with her responsibilities at home. Her family believed she spent her days converting documents and facilitating conversations between clients from around the world. They admired her dedication, her ability to juggle work and family with apparent ease. But beneath the surface, Elena's life was more complex than it appeared. She carried secrets that even those closest to her could not imagine. Secrets that would one day change everything. For now, though, she embraced the quiet rhythms of her days, finding meaning in the ordinary and strength in the love that surrounded her. Mornings were filled with packing lunches, school drop-offs, and quick kisses goodbye. Evenings brought family dinners, homework help, and bedtime stories about knights and dragons. Her family saw her as the steady anchor, the one who remembered birthdays and baked the best chocolate chip cookies. But Elena harbored a secret that could shatter it all. For over a decade, she had been a deep cover operative for the CIA, recruited during her college years for her linguistic prowess and unassuming demeanor. So this is where everything really starts. The mission is underway, and honestly, there's a mix of adrenaline and nerves running through me. Every detail matters, every decision counts. My so-called consulting job was just a cover, a carefully constructed facade that allowed me to slip in and out of my real life without raising too many questions. On the surface, it looked perfectly ordinary. Just another professional woman juggling spreadsheets, emails, and endless Zoom calls. But beneath that veneer, my days were anything but typical. I had to become an expert at blending in, at making the extraordinary seem mundane. Every morning, I'd sit at my kitchen table, coffee in hand, laptop open, and rehearse the details of my latest project in case anyone asked. I'd talk about market trends, client deliverables, and quarterly reports, all the while knowing that none of it was real. My calendar was filled with fake meetings and invented deadlines, all designed to keep up appearances. The truth was, my business trips were my escape routes. They gave me the freedom to vanish for days or even weeks at a time, all under the perfectly reasonable pretense of work. I became intimately familiar with the sterile glow of airport terminals at dawn, the hum of jet engines, and the peculiar loneliness of hotel rooms in cities where no one knew my name. Each trip was a new story, a new set of lies to memorize. I'd tell Marco I was heading to a conference in Berlin or a client meeting in Singapore, and he'd nod, only half listening, already accustomed to my constant comings and goings. I learned to pack quickly, to move through security with practiced ease, to keep my real intentions hidden behind a mask of professional detachment. Marco, well, he always thought I was away for regular conferences in places like Europe or Asia. He never questioned the stack of lanyards and name badges I kept in my desk drawer, or the folders of printed agendas and flight itineraries. To him, my job was just demanding, maybe a little glamorous, but nothing out of the ordinary. He'd joke about my jet-set lifestyle, teasing me about all the stamps in my passport, never suspecting that the real story was so much more complicated. Sometimes I'd call him from a hotel lobby, the city lights twinkling outside the window, and tell him about the keynote speaker or the networking dinner, inventing details on the fly. I became adept at weaving together half-truths and plausible explanations, always careful not to let the mask slip. The boys missed me, of course, but they loved the little souvenirs I'd bring home, tokens from faraway places that made my absences seem a little less painful. I'd watch their faces light up as they unwrapped each gift, their curiosity and excitement momentarily eclipsing any resentment they might have felt. It became a ritual. Every return was marked by a new treasure, a story about a city they'd never seen. I'd tell them about the Eiffel Tower sparkling at night, or the cherry blossoms in Tokyo, painting vivid pictures of places I'd barely had time to explore. Sometimes, I wondered if the souvenirs were more for me than for them, a way to prove, even to myself, that I'd really been there, that the double life I was living had some tangible evidence, like those tiny Eiffel Towers, delicate and gleaming, that I'd pick up from a street vendor near the Seine. I'd watch my youngest spin one between his fingers, imagining himself in Paris, while I tried to remember the last time I'd actually stopped to admire the city myself. The souvenirs became a bridge between my two worlds, a way to connect the person I was at home with the person I had to be when I was away. Each trinket carried its own story, a memory I could share without revealing too much. Sometimes I'd catch Marco watching me as I handed out the gifts, a flicker of suspicion in his eyes quickly replaced by a smile. I wondered if he ever sensed that there was more to my travels than I let on. Or a silk scarf from Tokyo, vibrant and impossibly soft, its colors shifting in the light. I'd drape it over my shoulders and tell the boys about the bustling markets and neon-lit streets, about the taste of fresh sushi and the sound of the city at night. The scarf became a symbol of all the places I'd been and all the secrets I carried. Sometimes late at night, I'd wrap it around my neck and close my eyes, letting the memories wash over me. It was a small comfort, a reminder that there was beauty in the world, even if I could only experience it in passing. The souvenirs were my way of holding on to something real, something tangible, in a life that often felt like a performance. It was a delicate balance, keeping up the act. Every day was a careful dance between truth and fiction, between the life I'd built and the secrets I had to protect. I became a master of compartmentalization, learning to switch roles at a moment's notice. At home, I was the devoted mother and wife, present and attentive, making up for lost time with laughter and stories. On the road, I was the consummate professional, efficient and unflappable, always ready with a plausible excuse. But the lines between those two selves began to blur, and sometimes I wondered how much longer I could keep it up. The weight of the deception pressed down on me, a constant reminder that every choice I made had consequences. Still, I told myself it was worth it, that the sacrifices I made were for a greater good, even if no one else could ever know the truth. And so, I kept packing my bags, kept spinning my stories, hoping that one day, I'd find a way to reconcile the two halves of my life. It was one of those evenings that felt almost suspended in time, a crisp autumn night, the kind where the air outside is tinged with the scent of fallen leaves and the promise of winter just around the corner. Inside, the house was a cocoon of warmth and comfort. I moved quietly through the hallway, the soft glow of the bedside lamp illuminating the faces of my two sons as I tucked them in, pulling the covers up to their chins and brushing a stray lock of hair from their foreheads. Their eyes fluttered sleepily, and I whispered goodnight, my heart swelling with the simple joy of this nightly ritual. The world outside felt distant, almost unreal, as if nothing could disturb the peace of our little sanctuary. For a moment I allowed myself to believe that everything was as it should be, that the only thing I needed to worry about was whether my youngest would ask for one more glass of water before finally drifting off to sleep. But then, just as I was about to turn off the light and close the door, I felt a sudden vibration in my pocket, a sharp, insistent buzz that cut through the quiet like a warning bell. My encrypted phone, the one I kept with me at all times, was alerting me. Instantly, my mind shifted gears. The warmth of the moment faded, replaced by a cold prickle of anxiety. I knew that this phone was reserved for only the most urgent, sensitive communications. It was not the kind of device that buzzed for trivial reasons. My hand hovered over my pocket for a split second, my heart already beginning to race, as I tried to prepare myself for whatever message awaited me. I glanced back at my sons, their faces peaceful and unaware, and I felt a pang of guilt for the double life I led, a mother by night, an intelligence officer by necessity. With a deep breath, I slipped the phone from my pocket and unlocked it, my fingers moving almost automatically through the security protocols. The screen lit up with a message marked Priority Alert, the kind of notification that every intelligence officer dreads. My handler's name appeared at the top, and I knew immediately that this was not a drill, not a routine check-in, but something far more serious. The message was brief, but its implications were staggering. A foreign adversary had managed to breach one of our most secure intelligence networks. The words seemed to leap off the screen, each one heavier than the last. I read and reread the message, hoping I had misunderstood, but the reality was inescapable. Someone, somewhere, had found a way past our defenses, and the consequences could be catastrophic. The message detailed how the adversary had not only infiltrated the network, but had also managed to plant sophisticated malware deep within some of our most critical defense systems. The attack was not just a simple hack. It was a coordinated, multi-layered assault designed to evade detection and maximize damage. The malware was engineered to lie dormant, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, capable of disrupting communications, disabling security protocols, and even corrupting vital data. As I absorbed the information, I could almost visualize the digital battlefield. Lines of code clashing in the shadows, firewalls crumbling under the relentless assault, and our most sensitive secrets hanging in the balance. The scale of the breach was unprecedented, and the potential fallout was almost too much to comprehend. This was the kind of scenario we trained for, the kind we hoped would never actually happen. My heart skipped a beat, a wave of dread washing over me as the full weight of the alert settled in. I sat down on the edge of the bed, the phone still clutched in my hand, my mind racing with questions and worst-case scenarios. What systems had been compromised? How much time did we have before the malware activated? Was this just the beginning of a larger attack? I felt a surge of responsibility, not just as an officer, but as a mother, a protector of my family and my country. The stakes had never felt higher. In that moment, the quiet comfort of my home seemed fragile, almost illusory, as if the walls themselves could not keep out the dangers lurking in the digital shadows. I knew that everything was about to change, and that I would have to act quickly, decisively, and with unwavering resolve. The alert was not just a call to action. It was a reminder of the invisible battles being fought every day, and the sacrifices made by those who stand on the front lines, even when the world is fast asleep. The breach threatened to expose nuclear codes and satellite coordinates, potentially sparking a global conflict. The culprit? A high-ranking diplomat at the United Nations, whom Elena had been monitoring for months under her translator cover. The task was daunting, but Elena was prepared for anything that might come her way. She had to infiltrate the diplomat's network, moving carefully through layers of security and suspicion, and intercept the data before it reached the wrong hands, risking everything for the mission's success. It was a race against time, and every single second truly counted in this high-stakes operation. That night, while Marco slept soundly beside her, Elena slipped out. She drove to a nondescript safe house where she accessed classified files and pieced together the puzzle. The diplomat planned to transmit the stolen data during a gala at the UN headquarters in New York the next evening. Elena's mission was simple: intercept the handoff without raising any alarms. Disguised as a caterer, she managed to infiltrate the event. Her heart pounded as she navigated through the crowd of dignitaries, and her earpiece kept whispering updates from her team. Spotting the diplomat exchanging a microchip with a shadowy contact in a dimly lit hallway, Elena acted swiftly. With a feigned stumble, she accidentally spilled a tray of champagne, which, honestly, created total chaos. In the confusion, she swapped the real chip with a dummy one laced with tracking software, and then just vanished into the throng. Later, as the adrenaline faded, Elena found herself reflecting on the risks she'd taken that night. Every choice mattered. She wondered, not for the first time, how many more times she could walk that fine line between her secret life and the one her family knew. By dawn, the CIA had traced the contact's network, dismantling the entire operation. Arrests followed quietly, averting catastrophe. The United States avoided a devastating cyber attack that could have crippled its defenses and, honestly, emboldened enemies worldwide. Elena's quick thinking saved countless lives and preserved national security. She returned home just in time for breakfast, blaming her early meeting on a client's emergency. Marco grumbled about her long hours and the boys begged for pancakes. As she flipped them on the griddle, Elena smiled, her secret intact. Her family would never know the shadows she walked in, the sacrifices she made. To them, she was just Mom, their everyday hero. But in the annals of unsung valor, Elena Ramirez had saved her country, one hidden step at a time.